The Christian life is absolutely necessary, and yet it is impossible for any of us, even the most saintly and the most devoted, to be true to the high calling that is ours. But Jesus does not ask that we live the Christian life on our own. On the contrary, if you look back at what we have studied these past weeks, you will realize that at least two other doctrines must be connected with the Christian life if we are to understand and live it. First, the Holy Spirit. Jesus does not leave us to be his disciples on our own. He sends the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, to guide and empower us. Without the Holy Spirit, the Christian life is an impossibility. With the Spirit, living as a Christian becomes a reality. Second, the community of the church. When Jesus called his first disciples, he called two of them. Discipleship is always discipleship with others. The Christian life is life in community, life by the community, life for the community. Dr. Kyung-Lim Shin Lee will tell us the Christian life is absolutely necessary if we are to call ourselves disciples of Jesus Christ.
When I was first coming to America, I had great expectations of this country. Korean Christianity came from America. America was founded on religious principles. So I was very excited about coming to this Christian country. But what I saw was not full churches or a Christian country. I saw people suffering from all kinds of crime, injustice, and oppression. I could not believe what I saw because I came with an idealized view of America. While trying to figure out what was going on in this country, I found myself raising a question repeatedly in my mind. What does it mean to be a Christian? What is different about a Christian life? I raised these questions because it was hard to tell the difference between Christians and non-Christians. Everyone was searching for success, comfort, security, and happiness. Christians seemed afraid to be different from non-Christians. I thought, no wonder the church pews are empty. If Christians are not any different from non-Christians, why would non-Christians feel they should become Christians? Of course, we, the church, should not be separated from the world, but our lives should be distinctive. We should be in the world, but not of the world. That is why Jesus said to the 70 disciples when he was sending them out to the world, "Go your way. Behold, I send you out as lambs among wolves." Lambs and wolves are very different from each other. Jesus wanted his disciples to live a basically different life from others. Jesus didn't ask them to become better wolves. Jesus didn't expect them to be stronger or more capable wolves than other wolves. Jesus wanted them to be lambs. He requested a radical shift in their lives. Jesus asks the same thing of us. Consciously and unconsciously, we have been so acculturated from the day of our birth that we feel comfortable and secure with the values of the society. We want more and more. More money, more success, more power, more victory, more security, more knowledge, more status, and so on. But when Jesus sent his disciples out to the world, he told them not to carry a money bag, sack, or sandals. He did not suggest that they make sure to have everything necessary and more things in case of emergency and a lot more to be successful. Jesus wanted them and us to have different values, different goals, and different lifestyles from the world. Therefore, we need to examine what we are accustomed to and comfortable with in light of what Jesus taught us. What did Jesus teach us then? What are we supposed to learn from him? In the culture in which I grew up, there are two different kinds of learning relationships. One is teacher-student relationship, and the other is master-disciple relationship. Education between teacher and student happens in the classroom by giving and receiving information. Education between master and disciple occurs in the life settings by living and following. A master is someone who not only knows things, but lives what he or she knows. Disciples learn from the master by following, even when they cannot fully understand why. Living is different from knowing. Following is more than learning. Jesus wants us to follow him. I'd like to pose one more question here. Whom do we really follow? As a child, did you ever find yourself holding a stranger's hand in the midst of a crowd when you thought you were holding your mother's hand? Whose hand are we holding? Today, let us examine ourselves to see whom we are following, Jesus or culture. It is not easy to follow Jesus because he lived such an extraordinary life. When long life was considered a blessing, he gave his life away. While people valued power, status, and wealth, he associated with the powerless and marginal people. When accommodation meant security, he went against the tradition, culture, and even the religious practices of the society. Often it seems impossible to follow Jesus, especially in this complicated modern world. Then, what can enable us to follow Jesus? Jesus said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing." To be able to follow Jesus, we need to know who we are and whose we are. As branches, we belong to Jesus. We are his. Therefore, we need to make sure we are attached to Christ, not anything else. Sometimes it costs us to align our goals and values with Jesus, but that's the only option we have. As soon as we lose our identity, our belonging to Christ, we would lose our master whom we try to follow. Second, we need to make sure we are connected to Christ. When we are attached to Christ, we are empowered and supported by him. But if we detach ourselves from him, we would dry out and die. We can maintain our connection to Christ through our worship, prayers, devotion, meditation, compassion, and service to others. In addition to those resources, we have the grace of God, the greatest foundation of our life. When we were yet sinners, the grace of God justified us through our faith and inspired us to live a distinctive life as children of God. When we lose our strength, motivation, hopes, and even faith, the grace of God encourages us and empowers us. When we experience confusion and loss of identity, the grace of God leads us to find the true vine and reattach ourselves to it. Especially when we fail to follow Jesus, and even when we betray him, the grace of God forgives us and helps us to start again. This grace of God even makes it possible for us to take up our cross willingly. Our ancestors in faith, who suffered tribulation, persecution, and much oppression, witnessed this wholeheartedly. After having gone through numerous hardships and all kinds of adversities, the Apostle Paul was able to say, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." We Christians should not easily compromise for the sake of our comfort or security. we ought to take very seriously what it means to be a Christian and to live what we believe. During the Korean War, many Koreans suffered because of their faith. The communists arrested Christians and asked them to convert to communism. If they refused to convert, the communists tortured and even killed them. That created a serious controversy among Christians. Some people thought it would be wise for them to save their lives by saying they would become communists while they kept their faith in their hearts. Others thought they should not say what they really didn't mean and should show the whole world that the faith was more important than lives. One day, many Christians were arrested and interrogated individually. The chief officer pointed a gun at the forehead of each individual and asked, "Would you betray Jesus and follow Kim Il-sung?" Either out of fear or wanting to be clever, or both. Everybody said yes, except one person. The officer asked him one more time, "Which one would you choose, Jesus or death?" The gun was still aimed at the man's forehead. The man said, "Jesus." Silence followed. The officer stared at the man for a while and gave a final order to the soldiers. "Execute everybody except this man. Fake Christians cannot make good communists either." Can we make good Christians? The man was courageous enough to go against the rule of the world, which values comfort, security, power, success, and being clever. He claimed to be Christ and acted accordingly. He chose to live and to die as a Christian rather than pretending to be someone he was not. One of the greatest temptations for us is to be and to act like everybody else. Yet, this only creates confusion of identity and destruction of self in the long run. We are called to be Christians and to live a Christian life. The only option we have is to accept and claim who we are and whose we are, and to live accordingly. Even though we disappoint ourselves when we fail in what we are determined to do, we can continue our journey because of love and grace of God, which never changes.